Hey guys, how is everybody doing today? Um, again, been a hot minute. Let's talk Smackdown from last week, just following Money in the Bank. We started out with Tiffany Stratton coming on out. She is Miss Money in the Bank. She interrupted Bailey, who had started off the show. So now we have Bailey and we have Tiffany out there. We are interrupted by Nia Jax, then, who comes on out. And when Tiffany and Nia decide to try to double team Bailey, we get Mia Yim. Now the match is going to be Mia Yim taking on Nia Jax. Not very many people are willing to take on Nia, so this is a solo match that gets more into the women's division. Kind of nice to see all of those women out there. We end up getting Nia Jax picking up the victory over Mia Yim. Not too surprising. Where this leaves us for the women's picture for SmackDown is hard to say. So at SummerSlam, we are getting Bailey versus Nia Jax. And I would like to see Bailey keep that title for a while, but it's going to take a lot for her to try to defeat Nia Jax and to make that believable. So we'll see what happens there, right? It will probably be an okay match. I'm sure that they will give Bailey her time there, even if they don't actually have Bailey keep the title. We then saw Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews. They took on Angel Garza and Humberto. This match was kind of confusing to me, I think, a little bit at first. Yes, both Corbin and Apollo have had their issues with Legado del Fantasma, but it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the two of them being in a tag team. They're both fantastic athletes. I think Apollo Crews has to work a little bit more on connecting with the audience, which that's something that Baron Corbin is better at doing. So I think this might work out for Apollo Crews, being able to work with Corbin a little bit, kind of get more used to that. And Corbin can play a babyface character. He really can. He's done well as both a heel and a babyface, so that particular part I'm okay with him going back to that. They got two different tag teams out there that we don't typically get to see. So that was kind of fun. Legado del Fantasma picked up the victory. Kind of to be expected, I guess. This also, though, allowed us to get a look at Elektra Lopez a little bit more. She has been with Legado del Fantasma. We haven't really seen her in the ring necessarily. So kind of looking forward to seeing a little bit more from there. The one thing with that, though, is that I like that they have put Elektra Lopez with Legado del Fantasma, more specifically Santos Escobar, because I feel like while he's fairly new to the scene, he has a little bit better of an idea of how to connect to that audience and how to create that character. So I think that will be good for her. We then get Blair Davenport taking on Naomi. So Blair Davenport has taken on this role of heel since she has come to SmackDown. I think this is going to be good for her. She has kind of started to create that character and try to connect to that audience, and working with Naomi is going to be a good way to do that. And this is not over yet. You saw her attempt after this match when Naomi picked up the victory. She then backstage attempts to try to make it appear as though she does respect Naomi, but then blindsides her and hits her in the back. So that is not over yet. And I think that will be good for Blair Davenport to work with a veteran like Naomi. It also gives us another storyline aside from the championship picture. We need to start to see some of those develop so that when different people end up getting into that championship picture, we can start picking up some of those seeds that have been planted, such as things like tonight, right? One other thing we're going to bring up that happened, we had Chelsea Green waiting outside of Nick Aldis's office, wanting to talk to him. We then had Pretty Deadly come up. They wanted to also talk to Nick Aldis. And Chelsea Green, being her charming self, like, the line is behind me. No one is talking to Nick Aldis before me. We then see LA Knight come out of the office. Now this is interesting because he's also holding a what appears to be a contract. Usually it is what is holding the championship contracts. He makes it appear as though Nick is in the office. He's busy, but he'll give Chelsea a call. He just has a couple things he needs to finish up. We then let's not jump there. Let's go to the next piece of that story, where LA Knight does come out to the ring with that folder that does hold a contract. At least it appears. He signs it. We don't get necessarily an up-close view of the contract itself, but it's supposedly for a United States Championship match at SummerSlam, and supposedly it is signed by Nick Aldis, and now signed by LA Knight. Just needs a signature by Logan Paul, who we know is not going to be signing it that night because he's not there. Now, this storyline is going to go a couple different ways, and it depends on a couple different things. First, since Nick Aldis is not there, we find out later in the show he was not there, they could go the route of that signature being forged potentially. This would not fit well with Nick Aldis, and that could completely throw out that match entirely. Or there was potentially someone in the office, well, maybe not Nick Aldis himself, that had the authorization to give LA Knight that contract that had already been signed earlier, maybe even a different day, by Nick Aldis. So still legitimately having his signature. We'll have to wait to see next week, probably, where they're going with that, whether or not that truly is Nick Aldis' signature on there. Hopefully we will get a hint on that next week. Alright. So let's talk about the tag team championships. We have our new champions, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, taking on Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, the former champs, who are attempting to get those titles back. They are unsuccessful. I don't have any issue with this. I'd like to see DIY hang on to these titles for a little bit longer. I feel like DIY deserves to have a fairly lengthy title reign. I felt the same way about 8-Town Down Under, Grayson and Austin Theory. Did not mind them necessarily as champs. Yes, they're heels. Yes, they get annoying, but that's part of the way that goes, right? And sometimes you have to have heel champions, kind of the way that works. I don't think this match is set up necessarily to get those titles back on Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. At the end of the day, it was to introduce the Bloodline to the tag team division. And that is where that comes in. The Bloodline does come out. They make sure that it is very clear, at least, I believe it was Jacob Fatu. Yes, Jacob Fatu comes out. He is the one that puts that interference in there. So, I think it's going to be interesting to the tag team division. My only concern, I would say, with that is that, again, I would like to see DIY continue to hold those titles and have a lengthy reign. But if they're going to go up against a team like the Bloodline, whether it's Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, whether it's Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, whichever, it's going to be hard to try to beat them and make that believable. Because irregardless, you know that there's going to be interference, right? So we will see where that goes. I think it will frustrate me if they do put the tag titles on any version of the Bloodline. But I will get over it, and I will understand why that's the route that they go. But that, I think, is what we're going to see as the next feud in the next space for the tag team divisions, more specifically the tag team championship. We then close out the show with Cody Rhodes coming on out, and he's granting that title opportunity to Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam. That is why I did not bring up his name in the tag division, because I believe that's the route that they're going with that. They're looking at either Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, or either one of them with Jacob Fatu in some fashion for those tag titles and entering that tag division. For the Undisputed Championship, the WWE Championship, they're looking at Solo Sikoa entering that title picture. So if they're going to try to bring that title back to the Bloodline, it's going to be through Solo Sikoa. So Randy Orton does come out, because obviously Solo does not come out by himself. And he attempts to try to help Cody Rhodes. It is not successful. The numbers game still is too much for them. Unfortunately, they did not have Kevin Owens this week. He is dealing with some personal things that are taking up his time right now that he needs to take care of. When we see him come back, I don't know whether he will enter that picture once again in helping Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton deal with the Bloodline. At the end of the day, Cody Rhodes gets tied up in the ropes, and he has to watch them destroy Randy Orton. Every week I keep kind of hoping somebody else is going to come out and try to make that save and join this picture. And so far we have not seen that. I am looking forward to that week when we do get something. And I feel like something is coming, and they are building to something there. So far, though, the Bloodline just continues to keep wreaking havoc. This is a different Bloodline. I felt as though Roman Reigns could be ruthless. These guys are even more so. And I think this is leading to the direction that WWE is going, where it is going to be more physical. We are going to get more, for lack of a better way to put it, more violent, right? I don't know how I feel about this. I really think that eventually Roman is going to be back, even though Solo says that he will not. And I believe he will be back with Paul Heyman in some fashion. We'll see when that happens, what the timing is of it. I do not believe that that will be before SummerSlam. I think it will be very hard to not necessarily put that title on Solo. I don't know that he's entirely ready for it. He might be. He is connecting with the audience, not like in it as a heel, not necessarily where he's getting cheered, but where he's definitely getting booed, and he's definitely getting a reaction, which is important. And he does feel comfortable on the mic. He is beginning to look more of a Solo star than he was when he first came out, and you didn't really hear him say anything. So he's learning things there. And that is what I have for you for Smackdown for this week. Let me know your thoughts, whether you agree, disagree. Love to have a conversation. We will see you guys in a couple of days. I'm going to finish watching Monday Night Raw. I had to work that night, so I've started watching it. We'll finish that up, and then we will talk about Monday Night Raw, hopefully within the next day or two. We'll see you then.